and welcome to the EUobserver chat show, MEPs Talk About EU. Joining me here today to discuss the topic of the Eurozone sovereign debt crisis through the eyes of the Indignados is the Dutch MEP from the Alliance of Liberals and Democrats for Europe, Jan Mulder, the German MEP from the European United Left group, Gabi Zimmer, and on behalf of the Indignados, Miguel from Spain. So thank you very much for coming here today to talk about this topic with me, and thank you very much for watching. Now, the Eurozone sovereign debt crisis is rumbling on, and the more serious it gets, the more the EU calls on member states to buckle their belts, tighten up their budget books and push through with harsh austerity measures. Bailouts from Brussels come with a price, and we've seen the effect that this is having, especially on places like Greece, with everyone from tax collectors to pensioners on strike. Well, one group that has been watching this crisis unfold since the very start and demonstrating in various quirky little ways is the Indignados. Inspired by the Arab Spring, they came about on May the 15th when they took to 58 different towns in Spain. They're still going strong, and in fact 200 of them even arrived by foot to Brussels this week to demonstrate and to voice their opinion to European politicians. But are their efforts in vain? And are the political class even listening? We're going to answer those questions and lots more right here on the EUobserver debate. So let's start with Miguel, our representative from the Indignados. So for those of you who are not familiar with this Indignados, the indignant group, Miguel, would you like to explain?
Yes, first maybe two precisions. The first one is that Indignados is the Spanish name, but I think at this point we should better talk about the global movement. When we see the same things happening from Tahrir Square to Tel Aviv to Madrid to Wall Street and right now thousands of cities in the US, we should talk about something that is more bigger than only the Spanish case. But the Spanish case is a good representation. The second precision is that we are a very diverse movement. I can only speak for myself, so all the opinions will represent only myself. I think to explain a bit how it comes about, again, it's easier to explain what happened in Spain, but it's a common thing that the young people, they are suffering the politics and the policies that the politicians of your generation have been doing during the last decades. We are heading towards a system where we will have less access to housing, less access to job, and also in worse conditions.
I can understand that they don't want to take over the consequences of the crisis only on responsibility of the youth or of the poor people in the member states. And that's why it's very important that they are saying what they are thinking, and we have to do to react and to put their awareness in our politics.
But that was quite difficult. I mean, this week alone they had a lot of challenges, and when they arrived on Saturday night, a few of them already spent the night behind bars. Then on Tuesday they tried to come here to the European Parliament, and they were told by authorities, by the European Parliament, that they couldn't even stand in front of the European Parliament, that they had to stand at least 100 metres away, and in the end only 7 people were allowed in to voice their opinion. Why is that, Mr. Mulder, do you think?
I cannot judge about the decisions of the authorities in this Parliament. I have not the slightest idea. I can only say that the crisis that we are facing at the moment is the worst in living memory. It is very, very serious, and I am aware of the high youth employment in Spain, which is probably the highest in Europe, and I think the situation is extremely grave, and we must do everything we can do about it. But I have some difficulty in comprehending why we should compare this movement with Tahrir Square, etc. We have in Europe, we have functioning democracies. Very soon in Spain you will have new elections, and you are, in whatever form as a party, you are able to participate in it, and you can judge by the outcome of the vote how popular you are. The gain of your argument is not on the streets, but is in the parliamentary elections.
But you don't think that's the answer, do you, Miguel? That the elections and the entry of Mariano Rajoy and the PP group will bring about change?
If I can react, our next choice for president, it will be either the person chosen by Aznar or the person chosen by Zapatero. This is all the say that we have, and we don't have any other party that can properly challenge. The people that don't go to vote is increasing over the last time, and you will think that the people are not interested in politics, but the reality is that there is an increasing part of the people that cannot channel their preferences process, and they don't think there is of any use to vote for any of the mainstream parties, because as we have seen in the last years, they are not representing the will of the people. They are representing the will of the of some group of interests and not the majority. And what is new about this government is we use in a way the tactics of Tahrir Square just to occupy and claim public spaces of reflection. We, after 3 years after the crisis, we didn't have a discussion as a society of where are we going, what is going wrong, why we didn't find the answers, who is responsible and accountable for this crisis. And it's about time that we raise these questions. And we don't have all the answers, but we pose the important questions that politicians, that the political system has not been able to face.
I think there are all legitimate questions. Nothing wrong with that, but I do not agree with you that in Spain you have only the choice between two alternatives. Because in every country in Europe you have seen recently all kinds of parties coming up. You have just had elections in Berlin, and there came up a pirate party which was completely new. But they were an expression of the voice of the people. In the case of Finland, you have a party, the True Finns, that made an astonishing victory in the elections. In the case of the Netherlands, my country, we have every parliamentary election, we have some kind of new party coming up. So I don't agree with you that in Spain you are only limited to two parties.
That depends on the electoral law, because if we are talking only about the case of Spain, and I didn't come to talk about it, and they changed the electoral law so that you need such a high number of signatures that actually what is going to happen is that only the parties that are already in the parliament will be able to present in the next elections. But I don't want to talk.
How many signatures do you need?
1% of the census. I'm not going to talk about this now, but I'm talking is about the debate that is going outside this parliament. Something that you are not getting. I'm sorry that I speak like that. There are people gathering and saying that this is not going to work like this forever. It cannot work like this. All structures just to bring all these different conflicting interests together, as the political parties, as the union, and also the mass media, communicating all what is happening. They are failing. We are in a new society. We communicate differently. We are liquid, and we will change the way. I understand that you feel threatened because we will really change the way.
I don't feel threatened at all, but I think the best form of expressing political opinions is parliamentary democracy.
I think it's not it's not up to us to say which alternatives they have, young people have. They have a lot of alternatives, and if they decide not to trust the parties voted into the parliaments, there are reasons, and we have to look and to ask why don't you trust the political parties, and why do you think it's necessary to have a broader democracy, also to include people which are not represented inside the parties or inside the parliaments. And about this we have to discuss. We have a lack of democracy in the European Union, and we have a lack of democracy in the different member states. And that's why it's not possible only to say the only alternative should be the example of the pirate party. I think
it's a new party.
It's a good manner to say we want to say our opinion. You have to hear, and if you don't hear to us, we will show that we have a position inside the society. We are not only a group on the rand, on a small part. We are here, and you can't get over us. It's not possible.
That's exactly why a group of these hardcore Indignados from Puerta del Sol in Madrid, they walked by foot almost 2,000 kilometers the whole way from Madrid to Brussels, and on the way gathering support, speaking to the locals, having that kind of intimate contact with people, to arrive here in Brussels to speak to people like you, to the members of the political class, to MEPs.
Yeah.
And still no MEP has shown up in the Agora. So if you really want to talk about this thing and you want to take decisions, you need to be in touch with reality. And you are really far away from the new things that are moving and are going on. And I invite you to go to the Agora. There's a week of meetings and assemblies that we have been organizing. We couldn't stay in the park because the Belgian police thought that it was threatening that the people just sit on a public park to discuss about our issues, and we are now in the university, but I invite you to come. And then you will see how we are starting to find new ways to understand what is going ahead and how we find different ways to really make possible that everybody can have a say in the choices that are important for them. Because also you need to think it's not. The mandate is too broad. We cannot give a vote like a blank check and then just come back 4 years later. We are in a new society with new technologies and so on. We can also provoke a debate in society where everybody feels included and come to better outcomes as a society, participating with the people participating and finding new solutions. And we don't need to wait 4 years and give you a blank check for whatever reason.
Because let's look at the bigger picture. I mean, this week that the Indignados arrived in Brussels, they're organising these activities every day. This Saturday is the World Revolution, where people from all walks of life, all around the world, will gather in the streets. At the same time, EU leaders are racing towards the 23rd of October, the day there will be a major European summit here to hopefully make the EFSF a reality. But there's no mention of the social crisis that's going on in Brussels or in Europe. I mean, yesterday Barroso spoke about recapitalising the banks, but there was no word about the social side of this. We've all seen how Greece is suffering. Everybody is striking there. How can you say to that? How can we ask people for more austerity when they're literally tightening their belt as tight as it'll go? Mr. Mulder.
If I remember correctly what Mr. Barroso yesterday proposed, he also had a major investment in new infrastructures to create jobs. He is going to propose that the way we spend our structural funds in a different way. At the moment there is a certain amount of money that member states themselves have to co-finance, but that money is not available anymore, and Mr. Barroso is proposing that a larger part is now paid by the European Union. So at first sight I would think that goes a lot into the direction that you want to have, that you create more jobs and so on, and I think that's a good thing.
So what do you think? Do you agree with Mr. Mulder?
No, I don't agree, because I think the policy of austerity is a wrong way. We have to stop immediately the policy of privatization, liberalization of social systems, of public goods and services, like in Greece, like in Spain, like in other member states of the European Union. And we have also to introduce EU-wide minimum standards, ecological and social standards. I think it's a precondition for that all people have the same right for access to goods, to housing, to jobs, and for a perspective for a future. This is our way. We have to combine the European Union with the social and ecological union. This is our task today.
And Mr. Mulder, do you think the EFSF, this rescue kitty, when Slovakia give it the green light, do you think that will be the answer to the problems?
No, that will not be the answer. There is not a single answer to the present crisis. I think we have to try all kinds of different avenues. The situation, as I said earlier, it is the worst crisis in living memory, and nobody knows what will be coming. But one thing is clear: we cannot transfer the bill to further generations. We have to stop it somewhere, spending the money, because that's the most dangerous thing, that you go bankrupt in some way or another. And we have to put our own house in order, and that will involve certain painful choices, but at the same time, as I have said, I am in favor of doing everything that stimulates growth and that will create more jobs.
Right, Miguel, let's finish with you. What would be your message now to José Manuel Barroso, to the IMF, to Angela Merkel, to President Sarkozy, these people who are kind of, our fate is in their hands, so to say? What's your message to them?
They don't represent me. They don't represent me, and the policies that they adopt, they don't represent me. In the case of Sarkozy and Angela Merkel, it's more obvious why they don't, but they take the decisions that they decide on my fate. The IMF, I don't know who is accountable and who I can ask for, for responsibilities when they do something wrong. And about Barroso, we come to the same topic again. Barroso is elected democratically. He was the only candidate. candidates. I don't know what your groups did your groups present any candidate, any alternative? I don't think you didn't. And there is no alternative in Europe. This is the monolithic, mainstream, dogmatic Europe that we are finding, that is applying the same concept from the IMF that they didn't work in South America and in other countries in the 90s, and we are applying the same recipes for austerity, for the nominal austerity, which is a biased debate, because you can talk about balance account and then you can choose to increase the revenues or you can cut the expenses. But talking only about austerity is biased, and we haven't solved the biggest problem that poses a threat to our stability, economic stability, that comes from the financial system. We haven't done anything with the hedge funds, we haven't done anything with the rating agencies, we haven't done anything at all with the tax havens, and now we are proposing an FTT, well, financial transaction tax. We'll see what it comes out of it, but it won't be decided by the people or in any parliament. It will be decided in the bureau of some leaders that act with a number of votes of some people in their pockets.
Or in dark secret rooms, as Jan-Claude Juncker said here in Brussels a few months ago. OK, we're going to have to leave it there. Thank you very much to my guests for joining me here today. Please leave us a comment or send us an email at video@euobserver.com and tell us what you think about the Eurozone sovereign debt crisis. Thank you and goodbye.